This happened many decades ago when I was still a young schoolboy. Imagine those days, no smartphones, no video games, no internet, not even CDs and DVDs. It was a time when entertainment meant going to the cinema, especially if you were a young boy living in small-town India. And I certainly lived in a small dusty town near the east coast of southern India. We lived in a small rented house close to the railway line. The notable thing about this railway line was that it almost bisected the town. It was a major line connecting Madras in the south to Calcutta in the northeast. They weren't called Chennai and Kolkata back then. Most of the old town lived west of the railway line, while some of the new developments grew on the eastern side. As children, we really looked forward to the movies because these were rare events. The movie I wanted to watch was an old black and white film. It was a hugely popular film back in the day, and it was being re-released, and so I was full of excitement. Soon, the movie released in a theater called Vijaya Mahal, and Vijaya Mahal was on the other side, on the eastern side of the railway line, while we lived on the western side. For some reason I don't remember now, I decided to catch the late night show, typically starting around 10 p.m. and lasting up to almost 1 a.m. in the morning. Despite some grumbling, I received permission from the family. The day finally arrived, and after an early dinner, I bounded off with excitement. I sat spellbound, thoroughly enjoying the fights, the songs, and all the usual stuff. The movie finally got over around 1 a.m. The few people who came to watch the late night show took different routes to wherever they had to go. As for me, I was thrilled. I was over the moon. As I walked back, I kept reliving the scenes in my fantasy-filled teen head. Further along the railway line, there was a manned railway gate about a kilometer from the theater, where all the traffic was supposed to cross over to the other side. But it was 1 a.m. and the town was fast asleep. All was quiet except for the sound of crickets from the wayside bushes. Instead of crossing the railway tracks at the manned gate, I decided to just walk across and make a shortcut of it. In a while, I crossed the thorny thama bushes that acted as feeble barriers around the railway line. As I approached, even the crickets fell silent. I started climbing the steep embankment made of crushed gravel that cushioned the tracks. Way over to my right, in the far distance, I could see the dim lights set around the railway gate, distant and hardly visible. Back where I was, I crunched over the gravel and got to the top of the embankment. It was quite dark, but I wasn't scared. In fact, I wasn't even conscious of my surroundings. I was a boy lost in his celluloid reveries. Now I crossed the first railway track and started descending. A few feet away was the second rise with the second track. I slowly stepped into the hollow between the two embankments. I was right in the middle. Something soft touched my feet. I looked down but couldn't see anything, not even my feet. The darkness seemed denser in the hollow. There was no moon in the sky and hardly any starlight. What was it? Still in my distracted mind, I acted without thinking. What was it touching my feet? I bent close to the ground and my hand stretched to touch whatever was touching me. A few moments passed. Slowly, I came out of my reverie. Now I was back in this world, conscious of the darkness, Con.
A hush falls over the scene, punctured only by the rhythmic symphony of crickets, their music filling the air with an eerie tranquility. The bare skin of your feet is exposed, the simple bata chapals offering little protection against the elements. Your face is close to the ground, so close you can almost taste the raw earthiness of it. There's a softness against your feet, a subtle touch that sends a shiver up your spine. Your fingers probe the darkness, encountering a similar softness. Suddenly, as if the world decided to lift its veil, a pair of eyes emerge from the void. They stare at you with an unsettling intensity, their whites barely visible in the dimness. The realization of what your fingers are clutching hits you like a cold gust of wind. Hair, soft, loose, long, lifeless and damp. You're staring at a human head, a woman's head, where her body should have been. Your insides clench, the cold grip of fear taking hold. Slowly, you release the strands of hair and rise to your feet. Silently, deliberately, you begin to distance yourself from the gruesome sight. Your senses are on high alert as you navigate the loose gravel of the second embankment, each step a calculated move, each breath a small victory. There's something there in the dim light, something that could be a headless body, but you don't want to know. You can't afford to know. You descend the second berm, your back prickling with the sensation of being watched. The thought of a dead mouth whispering your name sends a chill down your spine. But you can't afford to entertain such thoughts, so you keep moving, ignoring the sharp sting of the brambles against your skin, oblivious to the bloody trails they leave on your calves and knees. You need to keep moving, and then you're standing under a flickering lamppost, its dull light casting long shadows. Your feet are finally free from the unseen touch. You don't dare look at your right hand, still damp from the encounter. All you want is to leave it all behind. So you run. You run as silently as you can, as if the very act of running could awaken the dead. A day later, the local newspaper, Zamin Ritu, carries a story of a woman who committed suicide by jumping in front of a train. A tale of desperation and hopelessness that remains untold, a life cut short in the blink of an eye.